Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another set of action movie reviews. And yes, the focus is going to be on Sensei Steven Seagal, right?
Stupid person.
Meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel here.
Now you guys know, if you've seen my other videos on some of his other films, I have a kind of an odd, I guess, love-hate relationship with him. I mean, I've seen all the stories. I mean, I've read all the stories. I've seen how he acts when it comes to some genre rivals that he holds a grudge against. I know about the allegations against him. I know he's not exactly the greatest to work with, although he apparently was pretty friendly to fans at a recent fan expo in Canada earlier this year. So that's got to count for something, But I don't think he's the greatest actor ever. I don't think he's the most exciting martial artist on screen ever or anything like that. And he does kind of rub me the wrong way sometimes outside of it, which makes him feel odd when I watch his movies. But at the same time, there's this weird, I don't know if I want to say magnetism he has sometimes, or you could say it's just so bad it's good, so you keep watching. I think it started like that, but it has to be more at this point because I keep watching his movies for some damn reason. And I guess to some extent I like the guy on screen. Well, I'm in very weird mindsets. I'm not sure. But yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about Exit Wounds, which came out in 2001. Sort of one of his more well-regarded 2000s films, I suppose, by some accounts and a fan group. I'm part of the Action Elite. Shout out to you guys. And then you also have Past Dead with Morris Chestnut and Ja Rule. And DMX and Exit Wounds, by the way. Then you have Mercenary of Justice, which is kind of odd because I swear it's called it's called Mercenary for Justice, but on the poster says of Justice. I don't know. Either way. One came out in 2001, Past Dead in 2002, and Mercenary came out in 2006, I believe. Yep. Okay, so why don't we start by talking about Exit Wounds. IMDb, Steven Seagal plays Orrin Boyd, a tough cop in an inner-city precinct discovers a web of dirty cops and corruption. And you don't really need to know much more than that. Sometimes I go to Google to get a more lengthy synopsis, but I don't think it's even needed right now. Basically he's transferred to another, sort of rougher department further in the city, because, the way he handles things, I think they'll fit in better there or whatever, because, he handles things Seagal's way, so, of course, he's out of control, but he always does right? Then DMX, he's possibly this criminal that Seagal may or may not end up being able to trust. Then you have Michael Jai White within the precinct. And, there's a lot of, strings being pulled and stuff like that, I guess, and Seagal's got to weave through it. And you have a pretty notable cast here. You have DMX, who, did those, sort of a set of action films in the, around the early 2000s. He also did Cradle to the Grave with Jet Li, which I have to revisit at some point. And you have Isaiah Washington, who can be quite a good actor. He sort of becomes Seagal's partner in the movie. Anthony Anderson is there for some random brief comic relief. Michael Jai White, obviously. Bill Duke, of all people. I will say I did like Jill Hennessy as the captain. I actually kind of want more of her character in the movie, and they tease a possible romance between her and Ian Seagal's character, Oren. But it doesn't really go anywhere. Tom Arnold, what was Tom Arnold doing in this movie? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I believe SpongeBob's, excuse me. Okay, got a name mixed up there, but yeah, Tom Arnold, who actually gave a certain personal account of how, pretty sarcastic account of how Seagal was on set, but we don't need to go into that right now. Bruce McGill, who's been in things from Time Cop to other genre films. Even Eva Mendes, or I guess she was actually dubbed over at one point in this movie because apparently she didn't sound intelligent enough, and she made a comment on that saying that, okay, I wasn't intelligent enough to be in a Steven Seagal film, really. But yeah, Exit Wounds, it was fine. I mean, definitely not the worst I've ever seen from him. I'll say this right now, I enjoyed all these movies more than On Deadly Ground. I'll just make that clear. I had read that it used some wire foo or something like that. There isn't really too much of that. There is one particular scene though I remember where Seagal ends up helping someone out of a car, and he kind of beats around some thugs or whatever, of course. And he does sort of like this kick sort of move that you can tell he couldn't fully do on his own, and he kind of moves in a very smooth fashion that it could only really be done with a wire, for him especially. But besides that, I don't really remember too much of it. It's definitely not like a wire fu Hong Kong action film or anything like that, so don't worry. I know it's not too popular. Yeah, there was a good amount of Isaiah Washington, who I said I liked. Seagal's fine in the film. He's his usual self. There's some good fight scenes. DMX does this thing with a belt and a shotgun that he uses. Michael Jai White gets a couple, I think, decent chances to get involved in some fight scenes himself. It doesn't really lead to like this big showdown that you really want, but he does fight around with Seagal and some of the others a little. DMX, I think he can be convincing in the genre, but he doesn't have too much of a personality or expression, but he's not the least convincing actor I've, sort of a rapper, a pop star actor like this I've seen either, so he was alright, he had his place, I suppose. But the movie's sort of, it's simple, it's straightforward like most Seagal films, and it ends in sort of maybe overly grand fashion when you just kind of want it hand to hand, but it was alright, it's definitely not the worst, it's definitely better than, it's definitely a little more engaging, compared to a couple of his 90s work and his, some of his other 2000s movies, so it wasn't too bad. I could have watched it, I hesitated, I may pick it up at some point. I'm giving it like a, I don't know, between like a 71%, 74%, somewhere in there. And, maybe a 70%, we'll see. But yeah, now on to Half Past Dead. It came out in 2002. And again, according to IMDb, it tells the story of a man who goes undercover in a high-tech prison to find out information to help prosecute those who killed his wife. While there, he stumbles onto a plot involving a death row inmate and his $200 million stash of gold. So yeah, you have this one with Seagal buddying up with Ja Rule instead of DMX. And, who do I like better alongside Seagal? Like I said, I do think DMX is more convincing, like, in action. But I will say Ja Rule, I think, is a little more entertaining in terms of on-screen personality, so I did like him more in this I did DMX than the other one, personally. Morris Chestnut is also a good, decent, at least actor, even though he's been caught in a lot of those romance thrillers over the years. He doesn't make for a bad, antagonist, although it never gets to a, good hand-to-hand fight between him and Seagal. Seagal does have a stunt double in this movie that is pretty noticeable. They say his character has a titanium knee, but I don't know, I feel like it's just a plot explanation right there for some of his limitations or his speed. I don't know. But oddly enough, I don't know, I actually kind of enjoyed this film. I mean, I do think Exit Wounds is probably the better movie overall, maybe. But for some reason, I feel like I got more of a sense of entertainment value out of this one. I'm not sure why. They do try to give Seagal's character in this, who by the way is named Sasha Petrovich. Yes, Seagal is Russian. He wants to be Russian. Shocker. But yeah, Sasha, you know, he had lost the woman he loved earlier in the movie, and you get a couple scenes with him and Ja Rule sort of reflecting on that. And there's a bit of a concentration on him and Ja Rule's friendship, which is actually, you know, decent in the movie. I think Ja Rule, again, his personality sort of brings it up a little bit. A little generic, but it's fine. Again, Seagal is alright in this movie. He's not bad to watch on screen, but it would have helped if he could have showed a little more range when he's talking about the woman he lost. But, you know, once you get used to it, you can sort of roll with it, and I actually kind of liked it, I guess. There aren't really enough hand-to-hand fight scenes, although more than I was initially sort of told. It's all kind of quick, and of course Seagal doesn't really face any, you know, physical adversity. I mean, the most that happens to him is like a quick tap on the face, and he, you know, hits right back, or a gun is knocked out of his hand at one point, but that's just an inconvenience. But, you know, there's some good, you know, shootouts, I guess. I also got to mention Nia Peoples. I butchered her name, but you might recognize her from Walker, Texas Ranger. She's sort of like a, you know, female antagonist, you know, Morse Chestnut's right hand. Ja Rule sort of flirts with her a little bit. She probably has some of the better physical scenes in the movie, I suppose. And yeah, the climax does drag on a little bit. It should have ended where it, you know, where it did in the prison, but sort of goes a little past that. I didn't really care for that. Like, this final helicopter sequence is a bit much, but you know, I just sort of rolled with it. And the special agent that Seagal is sort of you know, reporting to, you know, that kind of sets up his placement in the prison in the beginning of the movie. Claudia Christian. I didn't mind her in the movie. I thought she was fairly believable for the kind of movie it was. And also, I do have to mention, let's see. Yeah, okay, Bruce Weitz, excuse me, who played Lester, the death row inmate who has that stash of gold hidden, who Morse Chestnut and others are trying to get information out of about it. He was probably the best actor in the movie. I actually sort of, I don't know if I would say connected with him, but I think he was probably the best, you know, performance-wise in his role, maybe. So I liked him. And the judge was alright as well. And yeah, there's no overly memorable action sequence to it, but you get a couple nice lines from Seagal, even though it's, again, one of those movies where he tries to, you know, have that sort of gangster tone to him, where he, you know, he has a line with Ja Rule at the beginning where he's racing around in his car, and he says, "I'm a bad man, you know that." And he doesn't always have to do that, but he does that a lot, so again, I'm getting used to it. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But yeah, so even though Exo Wounds is probably the better film by some margin, I actually feel like I got more honest enjoyment out of Half Past Dead for some reason. But yeah, despite Seagal's do-rag and all, I'm actually giving this, I don't know, like between like 74, 77, 78% somewhere in there. I'm still figuring out how I feel about it. Most of you probably think I'm overrating it. I probably am, but hey, I have it on DVD, so there you go. And now Mercenary for Justice. It's one of those I've seen on Amazon Prime for quite some time. I actually started watching it months ago, and I finally kept watching it. I finally picked it up again and watched it from 38 minutes on. This movie also has a decent cast to go with Seagal. By the way, I should have been going to these individual pictures, by the way. Here's another cover for Half Past Dead. I do like the regular DVD cover, though. That's I have in the thumbnail. That's the version I have. I think that cover's a little bit better. This one kind of looks generic alongside other ones, so I kind of like the middle one there. Anyway, but yeah, Mercenary for Justice. I picked it up from 38 minutes in after not being able to get through too much of it before. But for some reason, I'm in more of a Seagal mood. Again, I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, he is alongside a decent cast in this. Yeah, it came out in 2006. It's about a mercenary that gets involved in a mission that threatens the lives of his kin. In order to succeed, he must break into one of the most well-guarded prisons in Eastern Europe and free the son of the most notorious drug lord in the world today. And alongside him stars Jacqueline Lord as Maxine. And I actually liked her quite a bit. Not only is she fairly attractive and definitely out of Seagal's league and this other guy they ever flirt with in the movie, but you know, she's kind of believable in her role as well, more so than she probably had to be. Then you have someone like Luke Goss, who is sort of an action guy these days as well. He's kind of started his own things as well. He's basically our main antagonist, really. He's not too bad. Again, you're kind of hoping for him and Seagal to have a good fight at some point, but when they finally kind of get to that breaking point with each other, it doesn't really hold up to any sort of challenge you'd want it to be. I also got to mention Langley Kirkwood, who I've seen in a few things. He plays like a decent scummy bad guy you just know isn't gonna be any good for anyone. And again, you kind of want him and Seagal to have a decent fight, but when they do throw down, it's not very suspenseful or anything. But yeah, there's even less fights in this than there was in Half Past Dead, stunt double or not. There is some decent shootouts, though. You do get to see a little bit more kind of blood with the gun violence, the gunplay in this, if you want to call it that. There's decent sort of like hallway scene, I guess, involves that. There wasn't really anything too memorable about it, though. It wasn't completely awful. It was tolerable. Again, if you're used to Seagal's work, it's not one of his worst 2000s films. It's sort of there, though. You won't really remember it too much. The cover to it is pretty decent, though, I suppose. It's not as generic as some of the other ones, I guess. So there's that. But yeah, if I had to rate this one, I'm giving it, I don't know, a 70 might be kind of generous. I don't know, I'm giving it like a 65, 67 or something like that. But yeah, let me guys talk about each of these films. If you want to talk more about, feel free to comment below. And yes, let me know. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.